Hello and welcome to my review of the Genestealer Cults Broodcoven. All of these models were first released 4 years ago in March 2016. They came in the Deathwatch Overkill box set, and then I think a year or 2 years ago they were finally released separately in a box set of their own for £37.50, which includes the Patriarch, which is this big Genestealer creature here, the Primus, this one with the Needler pistol, bone sword and toxin injector, and a Magus armed with an auto pistol and force stave. And you also get the 2 Genestealer familiars. Now, it's actually quite a good deal, £37.50. Typically, you're looking at £17.50 for these guys separately. That's almost the price of the box set. You then get these 2 little familiars and you get this whopping great model. I would say the Patriarch would be £25 on its own if they sold that separately. So it's actually quite a good deal getting all of these models in this one kit. It's essentially an HQ box set. You're getting 3 separate HQ choices, unit. Patriarch itself, the Magus and the Primus. Now sure, we've had the female Magus release last year in March. What is it with Genestealer Cults and March releases? Anyway, so it really is up to you if you like the Patriarch, if you don't have one already, and if you like this Magus as opposed to the other one. The Primus, this is the only real way of getting that Primus. None of the other hybrid metamorphs have these Needler pistols. I think a couple do have bone swords, and it's also the only way of getting those 2 familiars. So you have to weigh up yourself whether it's worth it if you're only after one HQ choice for your Genestealer Cult and what kind of themed army you want to go for. You can go for all bikes and buggies and things and go for that Jackal Alpha. So you can go for a, you know, hench, hefty, strong Genestealer Cult army with the Abominant and the Aberrants if you wish, or you can go for solid attacks and strength and psychic abilities with this Patriarch, combine that with the Magus and the Primus. But on the face of it, it's very good value, £37.50 for 3 HQ choices and those familiars. I will be going through the rules later on in the video, but firstly let's have a closer look at the miniatures themselves. Let's start off with that Patriarch at the back. Now, apologies for the finger issue here, but on the base, it's not a fully detailed base. You've got some skulls and Genestealer Cult icons. You've got a Space Marine helmet there that hasn't been recycled yet. You've even got like a skull with optics, a skull with a bullet hole through it. You've got this ventilation shaft thing. You've got the tail of the Patriarch with a nice hard spike on the tip. The Patriarch itself is holding a Space Marine head. Up to you if you want to put gore and stuff on the bottom of that. It is tapping into its psychic ability. It's got this long tongue with a little mouth on the end. Brilliant. And these claws are these absolutely ridiculously long, very, very long claws on both of the hands. It's got these spikes as well, so if it went into a roll it would definitely make some puncture wounds, and then you can see the usual Tyrannid aesthetics in the form of these sinewy muscle appendages under this exoskeleton. And yeah, you can definitely see all the crinkles and folds in its brain. Quite a magnificent little beast there. Obviously the downside is if you were to get a second one, it's going to be on this ventilation shaft. I think part of the claws are on it as well, so yeah. Moving on to the Magus. Yeah, a fair bit of detail on the Magus. It's got these lovely robes with the Genestealer Cult, completely adorned with Genestealer Cult iconography, and on this force stave. Got this cultist knife just hidden away there, and it's a clockwork key. He's holding his arm outstretched. He's got the pistol. He's got this awesome hood type thing with some kind of life support system there as well. He's even packing his coin purse. And then you've got the Primus. Wow, 3 arms here. He's got this bone sword. He's got the Needler pistol with a scope. Even better. And then he's got this, I want to say mutated kind of hand there with the 3 claws. Yeah, nice little action pose he's got. Yeah, fair amount of detail on that one. That's a good one. And then you've got the familiars, very, very cute little mini Genestealers. So if you looked at the Patriarch and the Broodlord even as bigger versions of Genestealers, then you can look at these guys as the smaller mini versions. I don't know the story behind these. Maybe they're kind of Genestealers in infant stage, or maybe they're just stunted growth. I don't know. I haven't really looked at it. Oh, they're very, very feisty though. Yeah, so that's one of them. This is the other one. He's got his prize on the Space Marine helmet. He won't let that go, and he's got his tongue out because he's already licked the helmet. So, God, that sounded wrong. So that is now his. Nobody else has access to the helmet. Anyway, enough about that before I go off on a tangent. Let's have a look at some size comparison. So the obvious size comparison you want me to show you is with a Warlord Titan. Okay, maybe not today, but is with a Genestealer itself. This is the kind of aesthetics that they share. They've got the same kind of muscle, sinewy. They've got a similar kind of head. You know, the Patriarch's got the spikes, this one doesn't, but they've still got the short kind of tail. They've still got the 4 arms. This one itself has just got the claws and the hands, I want to say, but some of them do have the talons. Nice little mouth on the end of that very long probing tongue, just to get into those hard to reach places. That's always useful. And then, you know, Genestealer itself compared to normal Magus there. A bit smaller, but yeah, that's just because of the pose it is running, whereas this Magus is standing upright. And then next to an Aberrant, the Aberrant is a little bit smaller, but it's more hunched. It's on the same size base, but it's just bristling with slabs of muscle, and you can just see the strength and toughness emanating from these Aberrants. That's it compared to the Patriarch. I suppose it's worth me showing you the Abominant and the Aberrant HQ. It's going to be similar size to the Aberrant, really. And yeah, so there you go. There's your HQ choices. I've also got a Broodlord to show you, just to give you a comparison. The Broodlord is sort of bigger. I mean, the claws are longer. Yeah, they are longer. There's no doubt about that. And you know, the tongue is longer. It's got a spike on the front. It's got a horn there. But there's no spikes on the carapace, and the tail is, I want to say, shorter, also standing on some kind of like remains of a capillary tower. But yeah, the Broodlord is kind of bigger, has a bit more presence, but they're very similar. You know, their bases are different too. Okay, and the final size comparison that I always like to make is just with a couple of Space Marines. So here they are. Got a normal Space Marine on the left and a Primaris on the right. Space Marine should be taller, but it's actually a little bit smaller than the Magus compared to the Primus. He is a little bit taller than the Primus though. I mean, the Magus, the female Magus, is ridiculous anyway. She's quite tall, and then the Primaris is, yeah, a fair bit taller. Not that much, but a fair bit. And yeah, compared to the familiars, yeah, they obviously dwarf that. The final comparison I want to make, just quickly, is just with a Penitent engine. I know it's a Anchorite, but still, it's worth noting, you know, with the new Sisters of Battle, this a Penitent engine would be about the same height as the Patriarch. Yeah, that's just worth noting, and they're on exactly the same base, and I think they're sort of similar models in that regard. Penitent engine is much more complex and requires more skill to put together than the Patriarch, but it's a nice little comparison. Okay, now this is my part of the review where I will go through all of the rules for all of these HQ choices. So we'll start off on the left with the Magus, then we'll go all the way to the right with the Primus, and we'll finish off with the Patriarch. Okay, so the Magus is your second HQ choice in the Genestealer Cult Codex. He or she will cost you 4 power points and a points cost of 80. The familiars themselves will set you back 12 points each. That's how much they cost for the Patriarch, by the way. Its stat line reads movement of 6 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill both 3+, strength 3, toughness 3, 4 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 8 and a save of 5+. Magus is a single model armed with an auto pistol, cultist knife and force stave. It may be accompanied by up to 2 familiars, power rating of +1. The auto pistol, it's a 12-inch range, pistol 1, strength 3, AP 0 and a damage 1. Yeah, it's not that good. The cultist knife is a strength of the user, which is only 3. Its AP is 0 and damage is 1. And each time the bearer fights, it can make 1 additional attack with this weapon. That's not very good either, but it's nice to have sort of 4 attacks. The force stave, on the other hand, plus it's a strength by 2, so you now got strength 5. It does have an arm penetration of -1, and it does have a damage of D3. That's not too bad, actually. Abilities. Magus has Cult, Ambush and Questioning Loyalty. Also has Spiritual Leader, so each cult unit other than Psychers within 6 inches of any friendly Magus models at the start of your opponent's psychic phase can attempt to deny 1 psychic power that targets them during that phase as if they were themselves a Psyker. Familiars. If a Magus is accompanied by any familiars, then once per game at the end of the controlling player's psychic phase, its familiars can lend it additional power. If they do so, the Magus can immediately attempt to manifest 1 additional psychic power. The death of a familiar is ignored for the purposes of morale tests, and familiars are considered to have the character keyword for the purposes of shooting attacks. It's quite straightforward. So the Magus is a Psyker, and it can attempt to manifest 1 psychic power in each friendly psychic phase and attempt to deny 1 psychic power in each enemy psychic phase. It knows to smite psychic power and 2 psychic powers from the Broodmind discipline. Keywords: Tyranids, Genestealer Cults, Infantry, Character, Psyker, Magus, Infantry and Familiar. So that's alright. I mean, they are Psychers, but not ridiculous ones. The Patriarch is the same. The Patriarch can only manifest 1 psychic power and attempt to deny 1. But they both know Smite and they both know 2 from the Broodmind discipline, so you get a nice little choice there of them. Okay, moving over to the right hand side with that Primus. The Primus is a power points cost of a 4 and a points cost of 72. Not too bad. Its stat line reads movement of 6 inches, weapon skill is 2+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 3, wounds 5, 4 attacks, leadership 9 and a save of 5+. There we go. This is where we're getting to the juicy stuff. So this time the weapon skill is better, strength is better, more wounds, more attacks and a better leadership. So a Primus is a single model armed with a needle pistol, bone sword, toxin injector claw and blasting charges. So the needle pistol, it's a range 12-inch, pistol 1, strength 1, AP 0 and a damage 3 weapon. It always wounds on a 2+ unless it is targeting a vehicle or titanic unit. That's alright, but it is only 1 shot. The bone sword is strength of the user, which is 4, AP -2 and damage of 1. That's not so good. It means that the force stave has a better strength, but this thing does have a better AP. The toxic injector claw, however, strength of the user, again which is 4, AP -1, damage 1, however, it always wounds on a 2+, unless it is targeting a vehicle or titanic unit. And each time you make a wound roll of 6+ for this weapon, that hit is resolved with an AP of -4. Brilliant. So that's a good weapon in that it wounds on the 2+, and then if you get any 6s, you then get that AP -4. That could be quite horrific. Blasting charges is a 6-inch range grenade D6, strength 3, AP 0 and a damage of 1. They sound better than they are, but they're just a grenade, pretty much. Strength 3 grenade. Abilities: Cult Ambush, Unquestioning Loyalty, and Cult Demagogue. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by cult units in the fight phase whilst they are within 6 inches of any friendly Primuses. Anyway, that's one of the reasons why you'll get him, because you can add 1 to those hit rolls. Meticulous Planner. The first time this model is set up on the battlefield, select 1 enemy unit on the battlefield. You reroll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by friendly cult units that have the Cult Ambush ability whilst they are within 6 inches of this model when targeting that enemy unit. Again, that's another reason why you get him, to reroll those wound rolls. Keywords: Tyranids, Genestealer Cults, Infantry, Character and Primus. So a very decent, useful unit, especially if you're not so keen on Psychers. He's going to buff your other units. Okay, finally onto the big boy himself, the Patriarch. The Patriarch is the most expensive HQ choice in this army, and it comes in at a whopping power points cost of a 7 and a points cost of 125, so it pushes that 100 point limit. Its stat line, no word of a lie, its movement is 8 inches, its weapon skill is 2+, ballistic skill is only 5+, strength is 6, toughness is 5, 6 wounds, 6 attacks, leadership 10 and a save of 4+. Very, very strong stat line. It's highly combat focused and survivable. The Patriarch is a single model armed with monstrous rending claws. It may be accompanied by up to 2 familiars. Now these monstrous rending claws are the strength of the user, okay, so that's only a strength 6, but it is AP -3 and damage D3, and also you can re-roll failed wound rolls for the weapon. Each time you make a wound roll of a 6 for this weapon, that hit is resolved with an AP of -6 and damage of 3. That is horrific. That means that the rending claws, the monstrous rending claws, have a better armor penetration than like the Bellicosa Volcano Cannon on a Warlord Titan or something similar. The armor penetration is out of this world to have it as a -6. You can't get a better armor penetration than -6. I don't think I've seen one. Put it in the comments if I'm wrong though. Abilities: Cult Ambush, Brood Telepathy. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by Cult Genestealer units in this fight phase whilst they are within 6 inches of any friendly Cult Patriarch models. Really useful for close combat focused units. Living Idol. Cult and Brood Brothers units automatically pass morale tests whilst they are within 6 inches of any friendly Cult Patriarch models. That could be quite useful if they're keeping up with this movement of 8 inches. Lightning Reflexes. Patriarch has a 5+ invulnerable save. Just adds to the survivability. Swift and Deadly. This unit can charge even if it advanced during this turn. That's a key point not to forget. It can still charge after it advances. You know, you move, you advance, you charge. This is a close combat monster. Familiars. If a Patriarch is accompanied by any familiars, then once per game, at the end of its controlling player's psychic phase, its familiar can lend it additional power. If they do so, Patriarch can immediately attempt to manifest 1 psychic power, and when rolling to win this unit, always use the Patriarch's toughness while it is on the battlefield. The death of a familiar is ignored for the purposes of morale tests, and familiars are considered to have character keyword for the purposes of shooting attacks. The familiar stat line is exactly the same stat line as the one for the Magus, and then I'll just read the psychic note. A Patriarch can attempt to manifest 1 psychic power in each friendly psychic phase and attempt to deny 1 psychic power in each enemy psychic phase. It knows the smite power and 2 psychic powers from the Broodmind discipline, exactly the same as the Magus then. Keywords: Tyranids, Genestealer Cults, Infantry, Character, Genestealer, Psyker, Patriarch, Infantry and Familiar. So there we go. That's all of the rules for the Broodcoven. They're incredibly useful. They're good looking models. If you've got a Genestealer Cult army and it's more of like a vanilla army or so, or it doesn't really have a single kind of identity in terms of, oh, I want to make a biker cult army, or I want to make a aberrant or Genestealer Cult army, then these are a nice selection of models to have to flesh out an existing force. These are one of the first Genestealer Cult models I ever bought with that Overkill Deathwatch box set, and I absolutely love them. I love the Genestealer Cult models, I love the bikes, I love the whole prospect, pardon the pun, of the Genestealer Cult being kind of prior Imperial citizens or so, and being affected by the presence of the Broodmind, and being continually changed, you know, down to a genetic level, with the influence of the Tyranids. And I think it's an excellent invasion strategy that before the first Tyranids even make planetfall, a lot of the population are taken over by these cults that worship the Xenos. Okay, what do you guys think of the Broodcoven? Please do put it in the comments below. It'd be great to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. For the Non-Queen.